Okay. Okay, that means we are going live on Facebook and YouTube for this evening. So welcome everybody that's here, those here on Zoom, and also those joining us on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to take a couple minutes right now and read a psalm. And actually this evening we're going to read more than just a psalm. We're going to take a little side trip over into 1 Samuel as well. And then once we're done reading through the psalms, we'll take some time to for prayer requests and take some time to pray. So if you are on Facebook or YouTube and you want to join us here on Zoom, you can just go to zoom.joinebc.com, and there's a number of us here already on the Zoom call. So we'd love to have you here this evening. Also, if you go to the joinebc.com, there is a contact button. If you have any prayer requests, you can send them in there as well, or leave a comment in on Facebook or YouTube, and Brian will relay them into the group here. So if you're just online, we'd love to have you visit us Sunday morning at 9:45 for a Bible study, and then 11 a.m. for our worship service as we worship together. Okay, so let's get started. Let me first move myself there and here. Okay, that is wrong, so hold on, let me fix that. That's better. Okay, so I said that we were going to talk with Psalms 34. So what I want to do is I want to read through Psalms 34, and then I want to just talk about it for just a little bit. And so this one will be a little bit interesting this evening. So first, let's just read through there, and then I've got a couple of questions. So as we read through this, the idea is what are we learning from this psalm? Because this is a psalm of David, and David has a lot of psalms out there, and we learn a lot about David and his interaction with his God. So let's read this psalm, and then we'll talk about it for just a second. I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips. I will glory in the Lord. Let the afflicted hear and rejoice. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. This poor man called, and the Lord heard him. He saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Fear the Lord, you his holy people, for those who fear him lack nothing. The lions may grow weary and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Come, my children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Whoever of you loves life and desires to see many good days, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from telling lies. Turn from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to blot out their name from the earth. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their trouble. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. He protects all his bones. Not one of them will be broken. Evil will slay the wicked. The foes of the righteous will be condemned. The Lord will rescue his servant. No one who takes refuge in him will be condemned. So that's Psalms 34. And as we look at that, we see David as he writes this psalm. He's talking about how his God takes care of his people, and his God is going to it takes care of him, and he can just rely on God because his God is a powerful God and takes care of the righteous. So this psalm is really interesting, and I don't know if you caught the preface to this psalm, but this psalm is written in regard to David in between when God told him that he was going to be king and while Saul was still king, and David was a servant of Saul. And do we remember the trouble that David had as he was a servant of Saul? Saul was king, but Saul knew that David was going to be king. David knew, but what did David do? He had opportunity to even dispatch Saul and become king, but he didn't do that because he said, you don't lay your hand on the Lord's anointed. And Saul was king because God set Saul up as king. But there was this long transition time where Saul actually wanted to kill David. And so this is in that transition time where David is running from Saul. Saul wants to kill David. And so let's read back. Let's go over to 1 Samuel, and we're going to read where this psalm is referencing. This psalm is going to reference Psalm or 1 Samuel chapter 21, but let's back up into chapter 20 to get a kind of a run into this is what's happening around the time that this psalm is referencing. So if we look in Psalms 1 Samuel 20, it says, Then David fled from Naioth to Ramah and went to Jonathan and asked, What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father that he is trying to kill me? A little bit further down it says, Never, Jonathan said. If I had the least inkling that my father was determined to harm you, wouldn't I tell you? David asked, Who will tell me if your father answers harshly? Then David knew that, and then we're going to skip down further because Jonathan was with his dad um, at a meal. David didn't show up for the meal. Saul gets really angry, throws the spear. And so then Jonathan leaves and he says, okay, Jonathan now knows that his father intended to kill David. And so this is that time we remember that in the mornings, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, Run and find the arrows I shoot. As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the boy had come to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out after him, Isn't the arrow beyond you? Which was the cue for Jonathan letting David know, hey, you can't come. You can't come here. You have to go away. So continue to go further. Then he shouted, Hurry, go quick, don't stop. The boy picked up the arrows and returned to his master. And the boy knew nothing about all of this. Only Jonathan did David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, Go, carry them back to town. And then down at the end of chapter 20, Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. Then David left, and Jonathan went back to town. And so this is where David starts fleeing. So he leaves the Saul's court, and he knows that he can't go back there because Saul is going to kill him. The first place he goes is to Ahimelech, and he gets the sword of of Goliath. But then, right after that, let's go to chapter 21 and read what's next after he leaves there. And that day, David fled from Saul and went to Achish, king of Gath. But the servants of Achish said to him, "Isn't this David?" Remember Gath? That's the the Philistines, and David had killed Goliath. He had he had routed them, and so the Philistines weren't exactly happy that David was there, right? So the servants of Achish said to him, "Isn't this David, the king of the land? Isn't he the one they sing about in their dances? Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." So David knows that, okay, he went here, he's fleeing Saul, but Achish, king of Gath, is not going to necessarily be happy that he's there. And so let's keep going. So David took these words to heart and was very much afraid of Achish, king of Gath. So he pretended to be insane in their presence. And while he was in their hands, he acted like a madman, making marks on the doors of the gates and letting saliva run down his beard. So he's acting insane, like a crazy person. And Achish says to his servants, "Look at the man. He is insane. Why bring him to me? Am I so short of madmen that you have to bring this fellow here to carry on like this in front of me? Must this man come into my house?" So David is there, and he's fearful. He's running from Saul because he's afraid of Saul. He gets to Gath, and the king, Achish, the king of Gath, he's afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And what is David doing? He's acting like insane so that he can not get trouble from him with Achish. So let's keep going though. So if we go over to chapter 22, the next, David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down to him there. All those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him, and he became their commander. About 400 men were with him. From there, David went to Mizpah in Moab and said to the king of Moab, "Would you let my father and mother come and stay with you until I learn what God will do for me?" So he left them, his father and mother, with the king of Moab, and they stayed with him as long as David was in the stronghold. So this is the story in 1 Samuel of what David was going through at this time. And it was a lot more than this, but this instance right here where David is feigning being insane. So let's go back to Psalms 34. And remember the preface of Psalms 34 that you may have caught when I started it last time. The preface says, "This is a psalm of David." And this was done when he pretended to be insane before Abimelech, who drove him away, and he left. So this is that reference back to Abimelech. Is just to connect the two. Abimelech is a word for basically a Philistine king, as they called him Abimelech. And so this references Achish, who was the king of Gath in that area. And so this is just a different way of referencing Achish there. So let's read through this psalm one more time with the idea in mind that David is pretending to be insane. And even in his fear that Saul is trying to kill him, that Achish, I'm sure, was not happy. He was afraid of Achish as well. And yet he's going to write this psalm about this time in his life. So let's read through there one more time. Psalms 34. I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips. I will glory in the Lord. Let the afflicted hear and rejoice. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. This poor man called, and the Lord heard him. He saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Now, before we keep going, this is the interesting thing to me. David is confident that the Lord hears him and saves him out of his trouble. But in this time, was David just sitting at his home knowing that God was going to take care of everything? I can just sit here and I don't have to do anything. Did this keep David from being afraid? For me, this is the interesting thing as we read through the psalm. David is fearful. David knows that he's going to be king, but he's still fearful. And not only that, he still knows that the Lord hears him and is going to save him out of his trouble, but he is still acting. He's still doing what he thinks needs to happen. He's still acting as a person and knowing that God hears him and is taking care of him. And putting those two together is what makes this psalm really interesting for me. So let's keep going in this psalm. David says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Fear the Lord, you his holy people, for those who fear him lack nothing. The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Come, my children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Whoever of you loves life and desires to see many good days, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from telling lies. Turn from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to blot out their name from the earth. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. He protects all his bones. Not one of them will be broken. Evil will slay the wicked. The foes of the righteous will be condemned. The Lord will rescue his servants. No one who takes refuge in him will be condemned. And that is Psalms 34. Psalms 34, the Psalm of David, when he's running from Saul because Saul wants to kill him. He runs down to Achish and Gath, and Achish and Gath is going to want to kill him, and he's scared of that as well. So David is fearful, but he knows that his God hears him and is going to take care of them. And yet he is acting and running and pretending to be insane even. So he's doing what he needs to do, but he still relies on his God, and he knows his God is going to take care of him. And he tells everybody in this psalm, hey, you should do the right things as well. Do the right things. Love the Lord. Rely on the Lord. Follow the Lord. And God is going to take care of you. But at the same time, keep doing what you need to do. And yes, you might be afraid, but that doesn't change who God is. God still is going to take care of you. Okay, so that's Psalms 34. Next, we're going to go into a time of sharing prayer requests and taking time to pray. So if you're watching live, share your prayer requests in the comments. If you're watching a past version of this, because it's out there recorded on YouTube and Facebook, visit our website at visitebc.org and click the request prayer button, and you can send your prayer requests in there. Now we're going to give Brian just a minute to end the live feed on YouTube and the